So how many dimensions are there from a yoga sciences point of view, and comparing to the scientific quantum physics viewpoint? So in this video, I will be discussing the comparison and what the deep theories are according to my knowledge. And I want to ask you a big favor. If you like my videos, please click like and subscribe. It will really help my channel, and it will help the algorithm so that I could reach out to more people. And for those who don't know me, I am Osman. I am a bioenergy healer on a master level with telepathic capabilities, specializing in critical care recovery and terminal illnesses, amongst a host of other physiological, psychological, and even spiritual ailments, especially treating the adverse effects of involuntary Kundalini awakening. I'm also an advanced level yoga and meditation teacher, having been practicing for almost 50 years and teaching for 44 years. In that period, I've studied under different schools of thought, under different masters, and weaned or gleaned out the best and the essence of it, cutting out the flaws and creating, my own unique protocols adapted for the 21st century, making it much, much shorter, effective, and powerful. And to that end, I've now got students in over 100 countries, and created many simplified protocols, uh, one of which is a 5-minute yoga and meditation program, which you can download for free from my website, yogawellness786.com, where you can also get more information about my services. Also, remember, my therapies are all natural based and not a replacement for medical treatment. So I had occasion to listen to a podcast, and I'm not getting paid, or to mention these things. And it's just I love the content. It's from the podcast of Lewis House called "The School of Greatness," and he interviewed, I think, multiple times a person by the name of Billy Carson, and his website is the number 4 bidden, not FOR bidden, 4bidden .com. And he's got a lot of intensive studies. He went and studied as well, neuroscience, as well as quantum physics and quantum aspects, and he puts things in perspective from a very scientific viewpoint. And of interest to me was when he mentioned that there are 11 dimensions of existence. And the current existence where we are living, he's saying, is three-dimensional. And we are now on the third dimension. And so if I think back, compare it to a yoga perspective. So I feel the 11 can fit in to, if he's counting the three that he knows of, and he says 11, which means there's eight, higher ones. So if this is the first dimension, and there are, six, there's total seven, superior chakras, right? So there's six above this one. So 6 and 1 is 7, and three more, right? Comes to 11. So he's counting three in the first one, right? Plus 6 is 9. So plus two more is 11. So if we count the one above the seventh one, it's coming to 10. And uh, and there is, the one above that, where you experience, from the yogic sciences point of view, the nirvikalpi samadhi above the seventh chakra, right? So I don't know how he gets 11 dimensions, but science has found there's 11 dimensions. But instead of getting confused with all these dimensions, I've counted in the yogic sciences point of view, I think a total of 112 dimensions, right? So let me explain the dimensions to you. We've got each energy center is a portal to a dimension, right? So as you escalate to higher and higher dimensions, you go to higher and higher frequencies, right? And which you may also call, from a modern perspective, a different dimension, right? So if we call the 7 chakras as 7 dimensions, and the one above the 7 chakra as the 8th dimension, right? So let's consider the theory that there is 99 levels in total above the seventh one. So the first one where you're experiencing the Nirvikalpi Samadhi is only number one of 99, right? So there's a 98 more, right? So above the 7, there's 1 plus 98, so 99, 99 plus 7 is 106. And then there are also the lower dimensions, lower than, because you get the 7 higher dimensions, there's also 7 lower dimensions. But the dimensions are accounting from the root chakra as the base, as the point zero. So the root chakra is 1, and then the 6 above for the higher dimensions, that makes it 7. And the root chakra, and then there is 6 below. So there's 7 lower dimensions, right? So the root being the level in which this world, as we perceive it currently in this form, and according to what everyone is perceiving, the form of this world, we consider that as the field with which Billy Carson is talking about. So the 6 below that is, let's count again, 7 plus 99 is 106, plus 6 below is 112 dimension, right? So let's go through it very slowly as a summary, right? So we're using the starting point as the 7 chakras, right? So there's the 7 dimensions. So that is, or the 7 chakras, 7 dimensions, right? So you get 6 below, right? 6 levels below. So that is another 6 dimensions. And then you get the one above the 7th dimension is one of 99, right? Where you get Nirvikalpi Samadhi, and above that there's another one and another one and another one, right? 99. So above the 7 there's 99, right? So these, we can call these 99 as the transcendental dimensions, and then the 7 dimensions as the 7 heavens, right? And then the 6 lower as the 6 lower, or people, in the olden days used to call the hells, right? So the 7 hells and the 7 heavens. So the middle one between the 7 heavens, what's linking, the one that's common one that's linking the 7 heavens and the 7 hells, is the dimension where we are, right? So this is the field where it's a balance between heaven and hell. So also a lot of people, they say there's no heaven and no hell. Heaven and hell is on earth, right? It makes a lot of sense also, to say it that way, because it is the base frequency, the point zero, where the lower levels and higher. So you'll get uh, the capacity for people to choose to be good and bad on this plane, right? And the lower ones, they can only be varying degrees of bad, and the higher ones, they can only be varying degrees of good, right? So that's why the 7 hells and the 7 heavens, but we are both in the medium point of heaven and hell, right? So that's why this is like the heaven and hell. So it may seem very confusing and so forth, talking about these dimensions, and it's like really abstract. But from a quantum physics point of view, they are calculating from what they could calculate and what scientific research that they are able to do, and they calculated these dimensions as frequencies, just like we can just see a a fraction of the spectrum of light that is available. So of the light spectrum, we can see, according to Billy Carson, about 1%. And it's not his theory, from what he studied from neuroscience and quantum physics, right? So we don't know how up to date he is, but this is his field, full-time field. You can go to his website and get a lot of interesting information, on to bring you up to par on contemporary knowledge before you go into deeper into the yogic science. At least get the foundational aspects, covered. So these frequencies, they are, it's like increasing the spectrum of light, which expands itself, or energy, right? So we're calling light, and light is a form of energy, because there's gamma waves, and microwaves, and ultraviolet lights, and so forth. and there's a huge range that we cannot see with our current um, activation of our perceptive capabilities of the brain. But as you increase the perception through yogic sciences, this is the purpose of yoga science, to develop. One of the purposes or the fundamental purpose is, the first step is to maximize the potential of your brain so that you have a 100% capacity of the tools, right? So when he says we're looking at just a fraction, 1% of the spectrum, so when we develop the full capacity, we can see the full spectrum, right? Because the brain will be able to perceive everything on the full capacity. So every time the theory of 20% capacity of the brain is maximum, 8 to 10% capacity, and I always say, I believe it's not even a fraction of the percentage, right? In my opinion. So from this perspective, from the range of light, just the theory of known theories, of only 1% perceptibility means our brain can only perceive one, currently 1%, means 99% is still to perceive. Can we perceive the other 99%? My assertion and the assertion of the yogic science, which is over 4 to 5 thousand years old, says yes, by developing the brain through the tools of yoga science, and you can see the full 100% and beyond. So the 99 levels above the Nirvikalpi Samadhi stage, which means the 99 levels above the seventh chakra, is totally, beyond the spectrum of the current light waves that we need, that we're able to, perceive, because these are even more subtle than, the light perception, right? So it goes into much higher frequencies. So then this makes, a percentage, not even 1%, to a minuscule fraction of a percentage, right? So I've been right all along if we focus and consider it that way. So it may seem like a bit, difficult for majority people to, conceive of this idea of dimensions and so forth. An easy, simple way to understand is, you go to alternative. When you go to sleep every night, you go into a dream world. This is another reality, right? It's like you go into a VR, but when you're sleeping, because you're not aware of this world, right? You go into a total different world, and you think that world is real, while you are dreaming. You don't perceive that it's not real, that it's a dream, right? And then you can go to varying types of dreams. You have very good dreams, pleasant dreams, and very bad dreams. So the dream world itself can fluctuate into different frequencies or different type of sets, you could say. You get a movie set, you get a set for action scene, you get a set for, paradise scene, or nature scene, and you get a set for horror scenes, right? So these are comparable to the different frequencies, right? And another way to perceive it is those that love going on trips and using psychedelic drugs like mushrooms, DMT, LSD, and so forth. And then they go into a total different. While you're conscious, you go into a different, amazing virtual reality, and some can be very good trips and some can be bad trips. So depending which frequency you go to, the experience is going to be different. So it depends also on the construct of the person and his habits. Usually you find people who are more disciplined and more organized, and like professional sports or athletes, or it doesn't even have to be professional, just someone who's got a regulated lifestyle. Generally they usually should have a good experience, unless they are in a world psychologically of depression and misery and so forth, and then they could spiral down to a very frightening worlds, when they go on the trip or experiences, right? So you can compare the frequencies to these, so that these are not, according to some assertions, not imagination and not an hallucination, that it is in fact real. And it's just that you perceive it as a hallucination because there's no consistency. And the reason there's no consistency is because you're not going to the same frequency all the time. You're going to one of, let's say 7 plus 6, one of 13 frequencies at best, right? So, I mean, it's very difficult to go, beyond, that from, our perspective where we are now, because you are on ground zero right now, right? In order to go above the seventh frequency, you need a lot of, intentional practice and, years of dedication and self-discipline and so forth. So that is how you can explain the frequencies in the world. And also from a virtual reality point of view, you put on your VR lens and you can go into a game and you perceive everything as very real. So some of the virtual reality games are amazing and makes it very realistic. You actually it plays with the brain, receptors, and it fools the brain, and you really get the feeling as though you are there as well. That's how vivid the experience becomes. So hope that helps you. So as a summary, we'll say from a science point of view, there is a assertion and a theory. There are 11 dimensions, and from a yoga sciences point of view, there are a total of 112 dimensions that I know of, from the scientific study. So also, what we're describing as the 100 is the levels. In each level there are sub levels as well, right, from a yoga sciences point of view. In terms of the sub levels, there are total, within the 13, the 7 within the 13 dimensions, there are total, we'll say within the 7 dimensions, not the 13, the 7, there are a total of 114 energy centers, each being a portal to a different galaxy or a different world or a different sub frequency, and according to they fall under levels and sub levels, right? So within each level there are sub levels. So there's 112 levels, and within each of the 112 levels, we don't there are many sub levels, right? So this can go into an infinite number, perhaps, right? And what's beyond that we don't even know, right? This is what is known and what has been written down. So they haven't written down everything that is known. They only wrote down what they could perceive and understand. So the thing that was beyond the perception and understanding was not yet written or left for us to discover. So hope that information helps you, and take care of yourself always.